Lighthouse trackers are widely considered the best tracking solution when accuracy matters for something in VR. Think high-fidelity full-body tracking, object tracking, or tracking controllers or gloves. Unfortunately, it isn't a super accessible solution anymore, since most headsets aren't using Lighthouse tracking, meaning most people simply don't have lighthouses. Enter Vive Ultimate Trackers. Trackers that use cameras for tracking similar to how most headsets and even some controllers do. On paper, they seem like the perfect solution. Unfortunately, you probably haven't heard the best things about them. Well, it has been almost 2 years since they originally released, and a lot of the reviews are older. So maybe, just maybe, things have changed. I can tell you one thing that's changed: the price. Vive Ultimate's released at around $600 USD. Now they're almost $700. I'm gonna be upfront. I just don't think these things are worth $700. I paid $340 for mine used on eBay. Even after 2 years, they have a lot of problems. That doesn't mean they don't do anything well, though. I think my favorite part of these things is the dongle. It's just the one for up to 5 trackers. I'm used to Lighthouse devices which take 1 dongle per device, so having open USB ports is kinda nice. Although, the dongle can be the source of a really big problem later on depending on what your goals are. The trackers also really do feel like a premium product. The exterior is well assembled, and I think the texturing on them is a nice touch. The quick release system is also awesome, which it better be for how often you need to take these things off the strap. There's even an attachment that lets you use screws to attach them to straps, similar to how regular Vive trackers work. Although, they do like to wobble around quite a bit with that attachment, so if you're planning on getting Ultimates, maybe look into different straps. The hardware is solid. The issues with Vive Ultimate trackers are 100% software things. In a perfect scenario, they track almost identically to Lighthouse trackers, meaning their position virtually is almost exactly where they are physically. I've even found that they drift less than Lighthouse trackers do when not using continuous calibration. And yes, Vive Ultimate trackers do drift if you aren't using them with a Vive Focus 3 or Vision or a Vive XR Elite. Those headsets are able to communicate directly with the trackers. Other headsets can't, so you actually need to use a space calibrator in the same way you do with Lighthouse trackers to get the 2 play spaces to line up. This means they get that drift where over time they'll slightly shift out of position. You probably won't notice it much if you're just doing full body tracking, but if you're doing something where you're tracking your hands, you most likely will notice when they start moving out of where they should be. And that drift really isn't that big of a problem with Ultimates. What is just about everything else. Starting with setup, it isn't as simple as just installing the software and doing your figure eights. You first need to manually map out your room. This consists of facing a wall. Point your tracker up, down, left, right, up again, down again, left again, right again. Then repeat that for the 3 other walls. Think you're done? On your knees. Do it again. Mapping is different if you're on an HTC headset. You do it with the headset itself. It has you play a little mini game, and as you look around in your space, it maps it out. But in a way, it's also kinda stupid, because my headset evidently already has a map of my play space since it's been tracking in it the whole time? Either way, the trackers can still be really sensitive to environmental factors. They don't like barren walls, they don't like empty rooms, and they don't like bad lighting. If you've looked into Ultimates, you've probably heard the lighting thing. But good lighting doesn't necessarily mean bright lighting. It means consistent lighting. Lights that are too bright, including sunlight, can and probably will cause tracking issues. I personally have not had issues with my environment, but I know this is something a lot of people struggle with. So you may need to redo the mapping process a few times to get something the trackers are happy with. If you change a bunch of stuff around in your play space after the initial map, that can also cause problems. It seems that the trackers don't automatically remap as you're using them. So if you do something like move furniture or large objects around, or even just change the color of your lighting, that can cause the trackers to throw a hissy fit, and you'll have to remap. And then, if you have a pretty large play space where you might have furniture that segments parts of your room off, you most likely won't be able to use those parts, since you can only map from the center of your play space, meaning the only things the tracker is going to have mapped is stuff it can see from the center of your play space. Oh, and then, if you're someone who regularly plays in multiple play spaces, these things are going to get real annoying real fast. Headsets like a Quest do this really cool thing called remembering maps in different rooms. Well, Vive Ultimates can only save one map at a time, so every time you change play spaces, you're gonna have to remap. Even getting a good map doesn't guarantee good tracking. Why? That is a great question. One likely culprit is the firmware. The latest version apparently just sucks. I don't have problems with that since mine are on an older version. But if you end up with a set that aren't, HTC actually provided a way to roll it back. Well, they provided it to an individual, and the only reason everyone else has access to it is because that person was kind enough to share the way. A problem I've personally been dealing with that I don't really know the cause of is that I go to do my space calibration and I look over and my trackers are in La La Land. But if they were where I'm standing, they would be in the right spot. I do my figure eights, and I look down and suddenly one of the trackers just decides it wants to be like a foot above where it actually should be. I've been able to solve this by covering the cameras on the tracker and uncovering them, but sometimes that doesn't work, so I have to redo the figure eights, sometimes multiple times. Either way, it's really annoying and I can't seem to find a way to fix it permanently. So then assuming you get through all that and get these things tracking right, they can be pretty great. So great that you might decide you want to pick up more than 3 trackers. Well, hopefully you want to keep it at under 5, since that's the max that's supported on third-party headsets. That's the maximum that can be connected to one dongle, and for some reason HTC doesn't support having 2 dongles on PC VR. If you're on an XR Elite or Focus, you can use 10 trackers at once, by having one dongle plugged into your PC and one plugged into the headset. It clearly isn't a problem of 2 dongles not being able to work in the same vicinity, so I really don't know why they do this the way they do. Should you buy Vive Ultimate Trackers? At full price? Absolutely not. It's just too much of a gamble if you can get good tracking or not. Even if you do one day, the trackers might just decide they aren't happy the next. On top of that, this just isn't a $700 software experience in my opinion. If you're willing to spend $700 on full body, maybe just save the extra $100 or $200 and just buy a full Lighthouse tracking setup. In general, it's just more reliable and it's more easily expandable. If that's not your cup of tea, there are a few upcoming solutions that I think are really promising. If you can find a set secondhand for a decent price, then I'd say they're maybe worth it. Like I said, I paid $340 for mine, and at that price I'm happy. Granted, I've avoided like every single freak problem these things can have, and it's not a guarantee you will be able to as well. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. It really helps me out a lot, and I'm trying to hit 10K by the end of the year, but I don't really know how likely that is. Either way, I have some really cool stuff coming up that I don't think you're gonna want to miss.